Hello, thank you for joining us for another at-home STEM project sponsored by the Fort Hays State Makerspace. Today we're going to be making kinetic sand. After we make the kinetic sand, I'll show you a plate tectonics demo with it. So let's get going. Before we start, be aware that this can be a messy project, so you may want to do it outside or in a space you can clean easily. You probably don't want sand all over your house. Let's gather materials. You will need sand, cornstarch, dish soap, a bowl, a mixing spoon, a little bit of water, some measuring cups, some food coloring, and some plastic bags. Now that we've gathered our materials, we're ready to go. We'll start by putting a little bit of sand into our mixing bowl, maybe 2 cups full. Now we're going to add a little bit of cornstarch, maybe about a tablespoon to start with. Mix it in real good. I'm not really using exact measurements here. Now a little bit of liquid dish soap. Again, maybe about a tablespoonful. Stir it all together. Kind of like making a cake. Add just a small amount of water. I want to emphasize that you don't want to put very much water. Start with just maybe a couple tablespoons full again. Then add a little more if needed. But it's much too easy to add too much water than to not have enough. Test it with your hands to see the consistency. I added just a little bit more sand here because I had put slightly more water than I should have. But it's easy to add a little more sand if you need it to get the right texture. You want it to stick together into a glob, but not stick to the bowl or your hands too much. When it's sticking together like that, then you know you have the right consistency. I'm going to add a little food coloring to color my sand. Just 3 or 4 drops probably is about all you need. Now be aware, if you add food coloring, your sand could stain things. So make sure that you're not using it on a surface that could be stained, especially carpet. So now we'll mix it to get the food coloring mixed in well. There's a lot of mixing involved in this process. You just kind of have to feel it to see when you think it's all mixed together well enough. Almost done mixing here. Looks like it's sticking together well and our color is mixed in well. Put some of it on the table here and I can show you the consistency. It's sticking together nicely. Great to use now. Now that I've made up several batches of kinetic sand, I'm going to show you a neat geological demonstration to show one aspect of how plate tectonics works. So let's imagine we're going back to Kansas and Colorado about 150 million years ago. We are in the middle of a shallow sea called the Western Interior Seaway. It stretched all the way from the Gulf of Mexico to the Arctic Ocean. Now, this green kinetic sand that I'm laying down is going to represent a layer of sediment that becomes limestone. Now I'm going to place some little sprinkles here to represent fossils. These might be things like shells or fish. Now we're going to add a different colored layer of kinetic sand to represent a different type of stone. We'll say this is a layer of shale. When I get it smoothed out, we'll go ahead and add 1/3 layer here. never layer representing limestone. Of course, in real life, there are many more layers than this. This is just a very simplified representation. So all these layers of sediment are going to have formed fairly flat. Now over time, they become distorted. As the North American continent moves to the west, it pushes against the plates of the Pacific Ocean. Here in the middle of the continent, the Rocky Mountains are formed. The ancient underwater sediments are pushed thousands of feet higher, forming the mountains. Now you can look and you can see how the layers have become folded as they're compressed. You can see this very dramatically in the mountains of Colorado. In real life, cross-sections like I've demonstrated here can be seen along the highways going east to west. At the same time, these compression forces are raising up the mountains. Erosion is working to bring them back down. As rivers cut into these newly uplifted sediments, they create valleys. Many times, the top few layers will be totally washed away. Cliffs will be created, like this, so you can see different layers. Well, that's all I have for you this time. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up here. I hope you all enjoy making your kinetic sand and playing with it too. Thanks again.